some winners and then we say, let's go. So come on, it's time to watch the show. We're talking hardball.
We are live from the Betting Weekly studios as part of Bet Rivers. It is Betting Weekly Hardball back again on this Tuesday, along with Doug Kezirian. I'm Adam the Bull, and we got a lot to get to today. A full slate of games on this Tuesday. Doug, how are you today? Feeling good? Still on vacation?
I guess working vacation because I am doing this show and also obviously Betting Weekly Fast Break in the next hour. And it's great because the East Coast time zone, I mean, I know people don't like it if you are a normal person and have kids and things like that. But if you don't, and you're a bachelor like I am, I kind of like Eastern time zone better because you can watch games late at night and then go to bed. And then you have the whole day to do whatever you need to do. So I prefer Eastern time zone when it comes to this situation. As my camera dumps out, we're going to change that. See, I can already fix things. Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm that skilled. So I just choose, but it's good. I'm in Boston, visiting family, my brother and his children. So it's good to see the nieces and nephew, hang out with them. I went to field day today, Adam. So a lot of fun stuff, but also, breaking down games at night. And my little nephew likes the Red Sox. So I was watching the Red Sox last night and active first inning and things like that.
I got a great Italian restaurant to recommend in Boston. I can't think of the name of it, of course, off the top of my head, but a friend of mine owns it, and it's fantastic. And the name is escaping me, but I'll have to text you if you have time to go. So glad you got a chance to watch the Red Sox, hang out with the family a little bit. But there's some winning to do. And for those who were watching the show or listening to the show yesterday live or by the time we went off before the game started, well, if you followed the advice that Doug gave you, you did well because you went 2 for 2 yesterday, Doug. Great start to the week on a Monday. You hit on both the Brewers at minus 112, and you didn't want to take the run line with Philly, and it didn't matter either way, but you hit it. So 2 for 2. It's a nice day for those who followed along with you yesterday.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect with Kyle Freeland. He was sort of animated recently after a bad performance. So he did pitch well, even at home in the altitude of Coors Field. But the bullpen is just one of the reasons Colorado is really bad this year. And the Phillies got to that bullpen. And then the bullpen obviously did Baltimore in as well. Milwaukee had the lead, and then a 3-run shot tied it. But that's part of why I'm fading the Orioles and why I'm doing it again today. I just don't think the market's true. So when you can get these types of prices against an Orioles team that is clearly not what we expected entering the season, and I read a text that I shared from an odds maker that sent me, and it is what it is. Like he said, I'm even guilty of it myself, is what he said, just saying that the Orioles have issues, and I probably haven't adjusted my numbers accordingly.
I hope you didn't follow me yesterday on that game because I had the Phillies scoring first and winning. Obviously, they did win, but they did not score first. I did hit my other one. I had Patrick Corbin over 5.5 strikeouts, and I think it was under 3.5 runs through 5 innings in that game. So both of those hit. So good day overall, but Doug, a perfect day, 2 for 2. And we'll see if we can keep that going today. Stay hot.
Yeah, we did well on the other show, the WNBA, so nailed some stuff there as well. Yeah. So I'm seeing the ball well, at least this week early, but I think I'm run the table so far in the W. So,
all right.
all tickets cash the same, but I like today's slate in baseball. Not as interesting of the card, I would say. I thought yesterday's baseball card was very interesting with pitching matchups, series openers, things like that. But today's card still involves the red-hot Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, we'll start there. But first, I just want to tell folks, sign up for the newsletter at bettingweeklystudios.com for weekly betting tips and the entire newsletter. So in addition to what you get from all the Betting Weekly shows, including Betting Weekly Hardball and Betting Weekly Fast Break, you'll get even more on top of that by signing up for the newsletter. You mentioned the red-hot Twins, 13-1 in their last 14 games. Game was suspended against the Guardians with the Twins leading 2-1 in the 4th inning. So they'll resume that game at 6:05 tonight Eastern time, and then they'll play game 2, Gavin Williams and Chris Paddock after that. You know what's interesting? Somebody reached out to me and said they had the over on Logan Allen's strikeouts in that game. And they were like, is there any chance he's going to pitch again tonight? And I'm like, no, they're not going to pitch him 2 days in a row because he missed it by a half. So listen, that's why it's gambling.
And the breaks.
Yeah.
But you know what? Unders also cash accordingly.
Yeah, that's true.
I had my own WNBA wager over the weekend, and it was over 3.5 rebounds, and she had 3 boards within 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Didn't get another one, got hurt in the third quarter and out for the game. So it's just, and that happens, right? We saw some stuff happen in the playoffs. I think Steph Curry, that game 1 with the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
And I have friends who are odds makers, as I live in Vegas and work with them and things like that. And they said, look, I mean, put yourself in our shoes. We can't just do a favor to all the over bettors and then also pay out the under bettors.
Right. That's fair. This game pretty even in game 2 tonight after they make up the suspended game with the Twins at -113, the Guardians -105. Over under is 7.5 tonight. Do you expect the Twins to stay hot? Let me ask you that going into these 2 games.
So, yeah, I mean, their 13-game win streak was snapped on Sunday. So the question is, do these kind of losses happen sort of in bunches, if you will, or do they just go back to staying hot? And I think it depends on the teams and things like that in the sport. Now, Minnesota, so much of baseball is pitcher dependent, right? So you had who started yesterday and then things like that. But I did kind of anticipate the bats would go a little quiet. Like once the streak is ended, I'm usually thinking things will come back to normal and it might be a hangover effect of that next game. So fortunately for the Twins, they got a good start and they're up 2-1, but I did worry about the offense. Now in game 2, if you will, the second game, in Chris Paddock is not a household name, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's been solid and everybody's been doing obviously really well during this win streak. And he opened the season giving up 9 earned to the White Sox. Nothing to write home about. Sure looks like it's going to be a long season right after that. But no, he's given up 3 or less in every single outing since, including the last 2 outings. He's been great. 1 earned total allowed in over 14 and a third innings. So there's nothing to think that he's going to be sort of who you think Chris Paddock is, and he's going to continue to pitch well. And Adam, you and I have talked about it a bunch.
Yeah.
Certain stages of guys' career, things can change. Bubic yesterday we talked about after the Tommy John surgery. Guys can find the right pitching coach. They can have something going on in their personal life. Maybe, they get married, have kids, things settle down. I mean, who knows? People are allowed to get better and get worse. I always say that in college sports because obviously there's such a learning curve from freshman to the end of the freshman season, things like that. But pitchers can certainly sort of find their groove and add a pitch. And maybe they befriended some guy on the staff who taught them how to change the grip of their curveball. And that was all the difference because you're dealing with elite athletes and elite baseball players at this level. So to think some pitcher who got to the big leagues couldn't tweak something here and there, I'm all for it. And baseball is so nuanced. I remember, I'm trying to think of who the broadcaster was. He just said, the most important thing I learned about baseball was just the fact that you just have to accept you can't know every piece of information, right? It's so expansive and extensive with each team and each player and these rosters, and there's so many games. You may not know every little nugget of every single player on every single team unless you're maybe Vin Scully, the great Vin Scully. So I think that's just the important thing. So, I mean, dig deep, just keep peeling the onion, try to learn more about why things are happening. Because, yes, there will be regression with a lot of players, good or bad, right? Maybe Freeland's coming back to earth after being so weak. He's probably a better pitcher than he's looked so far. So yesterday's outing makes more sense than you think. But maybe a guy like Paddock's coming along. So I lean Twins, but I also may lean, maybe I think the bats are going to cool off here, man. So maybe the Twins team totals under's the right way to play it as well.
Yeah, Gavin Williams for the Guardians, extremely talented pitcher, but he's been very inconsistent. His last 2 starts, though, he's only given up 2 runs in 10 innings, and he gets a ton of strikeouts, but he's often not able to go deep into games. He's only gone more than 5 innings twice this year. That was back-to-back starts in the middle of April. But his last 4 starts, he's gone 2, 4, 5, and 5. Even though he's given up 2 runs or less in 3 of those 4. So the Guardians bullpen is good. So if Williams gives you a good start today, through 5 innings, that might be enough to bring it home. But
Well, what do you think about a strikeouts prop over 5.5? If I think the Twins bats are going to go cold,
right.
I can go over 5.5, and in Bet Rivers, it's plus 100. So 6 strikeouts or more, plus 100.
Yeah, I mean, if he pitches, his strikeouts per inning are great. He's got 51 Ks in 42 innings. So, and especially lately, I mean, his last 3 starts, he has 23 strikeouts in 14 innings. So, if you think he's going to go 5, which is a good chance of that, then that I like that prop, that over
The only
strikeout.
issue is he did pitch against the Twins about a little less than a month ago, 3
Yeah,
weeks, 3.5 weeks, and he got touched up. 2
he
innings,
did.
4 earned,
And
chased. Only got a couple strikeouts.
he was
So
terrible. He was
right.
terrible in that game. That was just that he's had 2 really awful starts, and that was one of them on the season. All right, next game. This may be the best pitching matchup of the night. Cardinals won the series opener, another red-hot team like the Twins. The Tigers at the Cardinals. They won yesterday, the Cardinals, I mentioned. Tonight, it's Tarek Skubal. Skubal coming off his worst start of the year. I mean, he got to give up, I believe, 5 runs in his last start. But how about this stat for you, Doug? Since June of 2022, so we're talking nearly 3 years, since the middle of June 2022, Tarek Skubal has only had back-to-back starts where he gave up 4 or more runs one time in almost
Wow.
3 years. And that was last June. So he's done it 0 times since last June and once since June of 22, back-to-back starts giving up 4 or more runs. So it's about the safest bet you can make is that Skubal's going to pitch well tonight. Very likely. Although the Cardinals' bats have been hot, and Eric Fetty has pitched real well. He has 2 terrible starts on the year where he's given up like 13 runs, and the rest of his starts, it's like 0 and 1 runs every time.
Yeah, this is a really tough call for all the
Yeah.
reasons you just touched on. Is St. Louis's offense that good? Okay. And then obviously there's a familiarity to pitchers that St. Louis does not have being an interleague game, but it's also there's
Yeah.
a familiarity to batters that Skubal doesn't have as well facing these guys.
That's true.
Also, talked about it a second ago in terms of is there sort of something wrong? Is there a reason he got touched up against the Red Sox? He did pitch at home, so it wasn't a green monster thing. I would pass on this because you're also laying 182 if you like the Tigers, right?
Yep.
And it's a little higher in the first 5 for obvious reasons because you get to isolate Skubal. So I'm a little reluctant here to get involved. I think it's a Cardinals or pass. I mean, usually if I'm torn on a favorite, it's probably better just to grind out a profit on the dog. But you can have a lot of great value tickets in the bottom of your trash can because some of these guys are just, you got like the Rockies yesterday. Oh, they were great value. They're at home. They're up
Yeah.
3-1. The other didn't win. So Skubal's prop for innings pitched is or out total out. So it's if he goes 6 1/3, you cash. Got to get over through 6 and
Right.
into the 7th and get another out. Fetty does come to mind at over 17.5 outs. So can you
Yeah.
get 6 innings out of him against a Tigers lineup that's really solid? But to your point, Adam, he's been great. But I
Yeah.
just don't know what to do. I mean, this Cardinals offense, so I was going back to the Skubal prop, it's second in baseball in a lot of categories like team batting average, and they're hitting the cover off the ball and things are good, but the Tigers are also been so solid. So this is a pass. I was going to do Fetty like an outs over outs prop, but that's juiced at minus 150. So there's no reason to get involved here. I mean, that minus 150, that stuff can add up. So I don't think like yesterday, I did sort of step out over my skis and lay the 250 with Philly. I just thought, when you're fading the Rockies and they have only eight or 9 wins all year, then I think that's more justifiable than even a minus 150 with this kind of a situation prop.
By the way, I'll just draw out the stat for you. Use it how you will. In his career, Tarek Skubal's faced the Cardinals 3 times. Of all the teams he's faced more than once, he has his worst ERA against the Cardinals, 7.71 in 3 starts, only 11 2/3 innings. He's given up 3 home runs and 10 hits total, 10 earned runs in 11 2/3. Now, how many of the guys playing tonight faced him? I'm not sure, but for whatever that's worth, I was leaning towards the Tigers because like Skubal never pitches bad 2 times in a row, but the Cardinals are just so hot. I don't want to, go minus 182 against the Cardinals right now. So I think
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
right.
if anything, I would look to play under 18 and a half outs for Skubal if you can
Yeah.
find that somewhere. I mean, look, he can obviously get into the seventh and things like that. And he
Yeah.
even did that in the last outing just by giving up 5 earned. But this Cardinals lineup's pretty good and, asking him to go 6 and stuff. But again, that's minus money too because the over's plus money. So just, good to flush it out, have the dialogue. But the
Right.
straddle here, which is minus 182 to plus 155, so that's a 27-cent difference. It's there for a reason. And I think that's where the house edge. So no play here.
Next game up on the docket, Yankees and Rangers starting a series tonight. Rangers have played much better baseball after getting off to a terrible start this season. They'd won 6 in a row. They've won 7 of 9. They did lose 2 out of they split 4 with Houston over the weekend, but they had won 5 in a row before that. So 7 and 9 overall. Patrick Corbin against Will Warren, the rookie. And we talked a little bit about Patrick Corbin last time he pitched and the fact that he's been much better. Pitched against the Rockies his last time out. 9 strikeouts, only 5 base runners. He did give up 3 runs on 2 homers. But overall, he's pitched well. And in his 7 starts so far this season, Doug, he has not given up more than 3 runs in any game. Are you buying that Patrick Corbin is a thing again?
I feel like it's a 1980s Tom Hanks movie or something like that where he gets bit by a spider. And now
Yeah.
all of a sudden he's Cy Young material. Check
Yeah.
this stat out. An ERA under 3 since being bitten by a spider.
That's great.
That's what it takes. He's got the mat. It's like the movie Big, right? Like where
Yeah.
some weird thing happens at the beginning, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden the entire body changes. And
Yeah.
I like this Corbin situation. Everyone faded him for several years. It was
Yep.
such a chic thing to do, and I get it. I was partaking in that, but look, he's surrounded by great, really good pitchers like DeGrom, and he's the end of the rotation, so he's not asked to do a lot. Again, you never know with pitching coaches and how a guy can evolve in his career. This guy was once an asset for the Nats when they won it all, and I this guy's a bet on situation. And yes, the Yankees have been profitable this year, but not really. They're less than a unit. You've been betting on them every game. So despite being 8 games over 500, they're under 1 unit because they usually have a little, juice on backing them. So for me, it's Rangers or pass, and I'm going to take a piece here of the Rangers at plus 175. Like obviously Corbin's a lefty. Maybe there's going to be more righty bats, and then the short porch and right's not as much of a factor at the stadium in the Bronx. I like the Rangers here. It's plus 160. It is going up right now as I was looking at the app here, but I do think there's value here on the Rangers. And like you said, they're playing much better ball, and I think Corbin's going to come in and deliver. And I'll grab plus 160. I figure, Adam, if last week I'm going to lay a run line with Patrick Corbin, then I might as well take it now. It's plus 175. So the juice is the market's headed against me, but I don't care. I'll fade the Yanks because I'm not exactly intimidated by Will Warren either.
No, nor should you be. The Yankees pitching, nobody really outside of Max Fried, nobody really intimidates me in their rotation. And by the way, I don't know why is anybody pitching to Aaron Judge these days?
I have no idea.
It's crazy.
And so I had that bet last Friday. I said, look, the Subway Series was opening. I said, look, the Mets last year walked them in the 2-game series, like 4 games in game 2. If no one's on, they're going to walk them. And sure enough, we got there. We had 1 walk. It was a 5-pitch walk. I think everyone should be doing that. I really do. I don't understand it now as a baseball fan. I'm excited that people aren't watching because I like to see, good players or great players hit a bunch, and who wants to watch walks, intentional walks, and for that matter. But if I'm managing the Rangers, I'm absolutely pitching around him. And last year, Soto batted in front of him. He does not have Soto. He has a mix of guys. Sometimes it's Bellinger. Sometimes it's Rice. Sometimes it's Grisham. I would be walking him. That's a fun prop. Sometimes you can find it over a half. But until that changes, I'm not going to worry. But I do hope they pitch around him at least because I'm taking the Rangers for the usual half unit.
All right, let's get to the next game on the docket. The Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. The Dodgers have lost 4 straight. which is shocking anytime the Dodgers go into a little bit of a slump. Ryan Nelson will be on the mound for the Diamondbacks. He's pretty much I'm not going to say he's an opener, but he's not going deep into games. He's been in and out between the bullpen and the rotation. Last time, I think they let him go 60 pitches, and I think he pitched 4 innings, something like that. On the other hand, for the Dodgers, you have Yamamoto. We've talked about regression with him. We've seen his last 2 starts have not been as good. Now, his last start against Oakland, 3 runs in 6 innings. It's certainly not bad, but it's not as dominant as he was pitching before that. Gave 5 runs against Arizona when he faced them on May the 8th, just 12 days ago. 5 runs, 7 base runners, and a home run. Only had 4 strikeouts. What are you looking at this game, Doug?
So I think we got to really remember that this is baseball and not another sport. Typically, a team this good off a few losses in a row, you're saying, okay, they're going to turn it around. So if this were basketball and the Thunder or the Celtics during the regular season had lost 3 straight, they're a bet on spot, we like to call it in the betting world, right? You want to bet on them because they'll turn it around. And basketball has a high volume of possessions, and usually, I think I'm going to butcher the phrase, but like water finds its level, right? Like you're going to get the true outcome here. But baseball's different, man. I do think teams have more peaks and valleys in baseball, and I think we're in a valley right now with the Dodgers. So if you're asking me to lay minus 245, I'll pass, right? Unless Yamamoto was looking sharp and he was just unhittable, and it's a much different situation like peak DeGrom or something.
Right.
The Dodgers bats are not that great. Top half of the lineup, obviously elite, but the bottom half of the lineup's not hitting, and they're in a funk. And could it end tonight? Sure. They could break out and win another 9-3 game, but they also may not. And this is a team I just don't want to step in front of and get behind at minus 245. I just think there's smarter things to do on the betting card across all sports. Like, why do I want to do that? Especially when Yamamoto didn't look that sharp. You mentioned the last time he faced the Snakes.
Yeah.
He was pitching fine, was 0-0 game through 3. Then he gave up a 4 spot in the 4th. And I don't think the D-backs all of a sudden have his number, but you're right. Didn't have the strikeouts. Is there like arm fatigue? You know, sometimes pitchers skip a spot in the rotation. Again, if this were an office pool and you're just picking some game, you just need to know who's going to win, or you're doing a 9-leg money line parlay, sure, fine, Dodgers. But at minus 245, I just can't get involved. It's D-backs or pass, but I don't love the D-backs in this situation, and they're playing well, right? The bats broke out.
Yeah.
It's funny, yesterday when we had the show, one pitcher was going to pitch for the Dodgers, and then they replaced him, and it was supposedly a better pitcher, but then the D-backs still got to him. So Ryan Nelson's going. We'll see how long he goes. Could be an overplay. I just don't want to get involved in this NL West, my man. Look at this. 4 teams separated by 3 games. D-backs are 3 games back of the Dodgers, and they're in 4th place.
Yeah. It's a crazy division. It's obviously the best division in baseball. In addition to betting weekly hardball every weekday at 2 p.m., Doug has another show, Betting Weekly Fast Break, every day at 3 p.m. What's going on the show today there, Doug? That's coming up in 35 minutes.
Right. After a day off, we're going to get Western Conference Finals Game 1. So the conference finals get underway today, and we're just going to alternate for about a week and a half, assuming how long these go on. So we're going to have professional bettor Chris Massaro, who's also been on this show before. I believe he was on Friday last week. And we're going to break down, look at some series props, some long shots, maybe a guy to lead that series in scoring, things along those lines. And we'll also obviously break down Game 1, Thunder minus money to win it all. And is that good value given who's left and all these other teams that were not expected to be this deep in the postseason? So we'll break that down. We'll also look at the WNBA card. We got 2 games tonight. I'm going to try to stay perfect in the W.
Nice.
So not much more top of the hour. And again, that's a brand new show, just like this one is, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, that we hope you check out beyond just today.
And a couple of comments from YouTube that I wanted to read here. We just had this post up. We'll put it back. Daryl says he likes the Diamondbacks first 5 and over. Anyone like the Giants, he asks. We will I know we don't have we didn't talk about the Giants. So you like the Giants?
So I can get behind the first five for the D-backs and the over.
Yeah,
First part of the question. I
yeah,
like that. Now with the Giants game, Birdsong's a tough break. I lean under in this one. Giants minus a buck 45. I don't know. Look, we had a pitcher's duel yesterday with the Royals, and it was certainly a compelling game. I would I would fade Lorenzen before I backed him, but he's not an auto fade per se. And I hope I articulated all that. So I don't know if I want to go to the foxhole with Birdsong and whatever you're getting out of him. And I know you got the home team and weird things happen for road team visitors in San Francisco, but um I would pass on the Giants. I would look to the under if anything. I think you could get some good like the first five under, but not enough for me to pull the trigger on this one. I think it's fairly priced. I would lean Royals to be honest at plus 120.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. I like Lorenzen
I
better.
mean, how do you see this one? I think Lorenzen's more reliable here.
Yeah, I like the Royals. If I were going to pick this game, I would take the Royals. I like Lorenzen. I've always liked him. So that would be my pick with plus money. So that would be it. But we got for those. Minton is asking if you have any, official predictions, and we do have some coming up. So stand by. We will get to that, and let's do that. Let's get to the next game. Orioles and Brewers is the next game here, and you won. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. You won with the Brewers yesterday. They did it against the Orioles bullpen, and the Orioles have some alarming numbers, both at home and on the road. And you like the Brewers again tonight, Doug?
How can you not?
Yeah,
Right? I just think the price. Look, I one of my buddies, and I've mentioned it on the show, calls
yeah,
me betting bully. Right? So if there's a really bad team, like a historically bad team, I'm all in on fading them, and that's why I pick on the
yeah,
Rockies a lot. I just think traditional baseball bettors who do shape the market just think it's one of those things like, guys, it's baseball. The best teams lose a third of their games. The worst teams win a third of their games. And I'm saying not so fast. That's certainly not the case with the Rockies. Now, maybe the Orioles get there, but they're so incredibly priced, again, still so incorrectly, that I just think there's value. Yesterday, we had minus 112 on the Brewers, and we were the home team, the better
yeah.
lineup. Turns out maybe the better bullpen. Now it's getting a little pricier, and I get it, but I'm still willing to lay 132. I think the pitching edge is pronounced with Logan Henderson on the bump. He's been everything you could ask just in a couple starts, but he's looking the part in an Orioles lineup that can hit. We learned yesterday their also bullpen stinks. And I have no belief in Keegan Aiken to deliver here. And there's just no relief in sight. Now it's an opener situation. I get it, but like the Orioles are not good. This should be like minus 170, like 165. The Orioles, besides the Rockies, are the losingest bet in baseball right now. If you bet
Yeah.
one unit on every team, the Orioles, you would be down 17 and a half units.
Ooh,
The only one that worse is the Rockies at minus 24 units, but it should
yeah,
tell you that it's not far behind. Um, after the 17 units, I think the next one's like 6 units. So
wow,
that's how bad these are extremes. And yes, usually the money line levels the playing field, and that's why the Rockies are huge underdogs. That's why the White Sox are typically huge underdogs. But look at the Orioles on the road. You have the worst pitcher, you have the worst bullpen, the worst lineup, and you're only getting plus 112. I think there's value on the Brewers here.
would you consider laying it on the 1.5 runs to get plus
Yes.
160?
Yeah, because this stuff can add up, right? The laying the
Yeah,
juice. It was a one-off yesterday with its minus 250. I just
yeah,
thought it was such a huge advantage, and thankfully the bullpen got there. But
yeah,
you're right. You're not going to make a lot of money just continuing to lay chalk, chalk, chalk. That's why I did officially take for a half unit the Rangers plus 175. I thought that was a really good value play
yeah,
with Patrick Corbin, spider bite
yeah,
Patrick Corbin.
yeah. That's right.
Now here, home team, once you get the extras, it's really tough to cover the 1.5. Obviously, you need the 2-run shot or more. And we learned yesterday it's a 1-run game. I think what I usually do in this situation, I'm doing a half unit, but let's say it's a full unit just for mathematical purposes. Sometimes I'll do like zero 0.8 on the minus 132 and then zero 0.2 on the plus 160, right? And even if you're putting these legs in a parlay, and let's say it's a $10 parlay, do like $8 with the money line parlay with 3 other legs that stay the same, and then $2 with the run line. Like mix it up, chop up your plays. That's the luxury and the benefit you have as a bettor. You get to decide which games you get to play and how much and which versions. And that's so the house gets the built-in hold percentage and the edge, with obviously the minus 110 on both sides of a point spread and whatnot. But you get to pick which games to do and you get to pick where you think the value is. So you can mix it up. And if you're torn, it doesn't always have to be 50-50 versus the run line or the money line. I prefer the money line in this particular situation, but I certainly couldn't disagree with anyone wanting to get plus 160 laying a run and a half.
Speaking of laying runs, yesterday, Doug, you self-proclaimed, or your friend named you, the betting bully. Yesterday, you decided to just bet the Phillies, not lay the runs. I was looking at it today, and I was like, I wonder, because at minus 1.5 runs, it's still minus 186 for the Phillies tonight, who not only are the Rockies terrible, but it's a major edge in the pitching matchup. Luzardo's been great. Senzatello's been awful. I was like, I wonder what it's going to be if I go to minus 2.5 runs. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. You saw that. And at minus 2.5 runs, it's minus 118. And then I looked at our spreadsheet here that you produce, and you had already made that pick. So I'm with you on that. The almost unheard of laying 2.5 runs with the Phillies to get still minus, but minus 118. I mean, it's not that often, I'm sure, that you've laid 2.5 runs in a baseball game, but that's what you're willing to do against Antonio Senzatello, who's been hideous, and the Rockies, who will lose their 40th game probably tonight before getting their 10th win.
Yeah, hideous is a very good word here. He's just been an absolute gas can. And you're getting the way better pitcher, like you said, in Luzardo, and you're on the road, so you can have those crooked numbers. And what happens is, and we talk about this with in-game wagering, which we fortunately do on this show Wednesdays and Thursdays of baseball week when you have those afternoon games, is if a team is up 5-3 or 5-2 or something like that in the sixth, what happens is you get their bad bullpen guys, right? You don't get their closer and their hold guy. You get the bad ones, and that's when these numbers can get like 9-3 kind of thing. Now the Rockies don't even have any good bullpen guys, but you saw that yesterday. The game got away from them once the Phillies took the lead, and then the back of the worst, or the middle tier of their bullpen guys. So that's why I'm okay laying the 2.5. Honestly, excuse me. I think like the 3-way betting line, which is essentially minus a half in the first 5, minus 167 is probably a good bet as well.
Yeah, I mean, man, there's so many bets. You could just there's probably 10 bets a day that might pay off against the Rockies. I mean, they are on pace again to be the worst team in the history of baseball. They have the worst winning percentage in the history of baseball. They're not even on pace to win 30. As bad as the White Sox were last year, they won 40. Right now, the Rockies are not on a pace to even win 30. I mean, we're almost at the 1/3 point of the season, and they have 8 wins. It's crazy. You just expect them to lose every night.
A team fire 2 managers mid-season because they blamed it on Bud Black. So are they going to fire the interim in about a month from now? I mean, I feel bad for fans, right? I'm a big advocate of fans are emotionally invested. So I want to support fans of, I'm a Dodger fan, but I don't hate the Rockies. I think all owners should spend a bunch of money, and I hate when owners are cheap. It's not fair to the fan basis because there's so many people who bust their tail every day at work. And the Rockies fans don't deserve this. This is wrong. But we're big fans of our wallet too. So we're gonna try to make money on this. And I just think when you have these outlier situations, you have to just understand the why, how the sausage is made. And the sausage is made by these math guys just thinking, I'll take a baseball team plus 235. They can't be this bad. And then after a few months of the baseball season, they have their head kicked in. So if in fact this team is the worst in the history of baseball, which I think they are in terms of record, then I think there's value betting against them. And I'm just going to continue to pummel them. So I am an advocate on minus a half on the 3-way betting line. So they have to be leading after 5, but you're only laying $1.67.
Yeah.
But you can get to the bullpen if it's minus 2.5, minus 127. So a little cheaper price. So I think that's a good play. I'm going to go with the minus 2.5 runs. Like we both are aligned in simpatico at minus $1.27.
Let's talk about another bad team, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're 15-33. They're at home against the Reds. And you had an interesting stat in terms of
Right.
over-unders involving the Reds.
8 straight unders. Look, trends are often your friends, but you have to understand why something's working or why there's a trend because it could be just coincidental. I always say, in theory, in this case, an over under, that baseball over under is minus 110, whatever. It's supposed to be 50-50, like the roulette wheel, right? Like red and black, and then green is the house's edge. So if you walk by a roulette, we've all done it in a casino at one point of our lives and seen one color red like 8 straight times. And so I have a buddy who always stops and bets the opposite color, right? And um and but I have another person who likes to ride the trend. So like what do you do here? So in this case, now there's a push in there, but they haven't gone over since May 10th. It's the last time
Wow.
the Reds have gone under.
Yeah.
Now they're facing uh they're facing the Pirates, who are also going under. That's the other stat I didn't look up until now. They're like 6-1 to the under in their last 7. So that's something that
Mm.
you want to factor in, and that makes sense because their offense is so bad.
Right.
So you know, I may have misspoke there. So I may have had the wrong schedule. So either way, the Reds have gone under 8 straight. That means good pitching, bad hitting on their games, and that means the other team can't give up many runs or score many runs because it's not just a team total under. So I would lean under here. It's probably appropriately priced, but I do think, we talked about earlier with the Twins and teams that are on a roll and in a funk. I think if offense isn't hitting, there's no guarantee it's going to snap out of it like maybe a basketball team that's good or something. So I would certainly look to the under. I just don't love these pitchers. So you're really
Yeah.
just banking on bad pitchers for under 8, and then even the bullpens. Sorry, you're banking on bad lineups. Excuse me. And then
Yeah.
I just anticipate a couple crooked numbers. Just you stumble into that stuff when you have sort of mediocre starting pitching here.
The Pirates, by the way, in their last bunch of games, they've scored 1, 0, 2, 4, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 0, 1, 3, 0, 1. I mean, that's a lot of zeros and ones in the last couple of weeks for the Pirates.
Incredible, right?
Yeah.
And so they've gone under a few in a row,
Yeah.
but they've been getting touched up themselves. But they've
Yeah.
had some 7.5s too. Like that's the other
Yeah.
thing is their numbers are 7.5, and they're still managing some unders. This Pirates offense is really bad, and you got to feel for Paul Skeens, obviously, which is always a conversation for another week, not just another day. But I mean, that's just ongoing situation with them and the future that he might hold or lack thereof in Pittsburgh. But I would lean under here. I am not quite ready to pull the trigger on under 8 though.
Another franchise, the Pirates, like the Rockies, where the fans wish they could push the owner out. One other thing I wanted to hit on, Doug, I like the over in the Cubs-Marlins game tonight. Obviously, they scored 17 yesterday, but both bullpens are bad. Both bullpens are beat up. Jamison Tyone has been bad for the Cubs. He's a hot and cold pitcher. He'll go like a month where he pitches well, and then a month where he really struggles. He's been giving up a ton of home runs. And Ryan Weathers did a nice job actually against the Cubs in his first start of the year last week. But I love the Cubs lineup getting to face the same pitcher 2 weeks in a row the way they've hit overall. So I expect it to be another high-scoring game tonight, and I was surprised it was only 8.5. So I like them to go way over. I like about 11, 12 runs in this game, high-scoring game like it was yesterday.
So 8.5 too. So you believe in the Marlins lineup enough? Then I guess is my
enough.
follow-up
Yeah.
question to you.
Because I don't like the Marlins lineup obviously isn't very good, but the Cubs with Tyone starting and as bad as the Cubs pen has been, it's the huge Achilles heel. I mean, the rest of the team's pretty good, but their bullpen stinks. And their most reliable guy yesterday blew the save with 2 out, nobody on in the 9th. So I think there'll be a lot of runs scored late, which we've seen in a lot of Cubs games this year, both by the Cubs and their opponents. So I like double-digit runs in this game.
And you said even though the Cubs didn't get to the Weathers when they faced him at Wrigley, you like the familiarity instead of past recent form or whatever. It's kind of like that golf thing, recent form versus course history or whatever.
I like
the familiarity.
I like the veteran lineup that's mostly been hot against the pitcher they just saw 5-6 days ago.
I could see that.
Even though he pitched well. Even though he
pitched 5 innings on 1 earned. Yeah.
All right, let's recap what we got today. See if Doug could stay as hot as he was yesterday. You've got a half a unit on the Rangers plus 175, so a big dog there. A half a unit on the Brewers minus 132, and a half a unit on the Phillies laying 2.5 runs at minus 127.
And you have a flat spot if you're 2-14 in your last 16. I think the emotional hangover of actually being close to a win and having it unraveled in the later innings might just be another sort of dejected blow to this Colorado team. That was one
Yeah,
thing I meant to mention earlier.
yeah, no doubt about it. I don't
Morale
know how.
can't be good in that
Oh
clubhouse.
my God, it's got to be just the worst. All right, folks, stick around. Coming up from the Betting Weekly studios, Betting Weekly fast break in less than 20 minutes at the top of the hour, 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific. Get all info on the NBA Final Four, and as Doug said, the WNBA, where he is sporting a perfect record so far. What are there not enough? Like, what do you think is the reason you've had so much success in the WNBA?
So, yeah, I mean, look, I don't talk crazy about it.
Yeah.
I'll just say it because it's fact. On a
Yeah.
public website last year, I was plus 116 units in the
Oh my
WNBA,
God.
including some live and some futures. Like
Yeah.
I've been watching it for 5 years, so I didn't just dip my toe in like when
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark arrived. Um, I just think the market tends to be a little soft, and I also think with maybe I watch it just a lot more than odds makers who have other sports to monitor and things like
Right.
that. Now the market's gotten a little better. Like opening night, I didn't love anything, although I should have been more aggressive. I thought the numbers felt right. I completely disagree with one line move today, but I have a good read on it, and I what I watch and what I absorb so far the last few years has turned into actionable or projectable information or observations, I should say.
Yeah.
Now, will I ever have that sort of performance in any sport ever again? Of course not. But you just have to grind out a win, and we've been doing that. And I enjoy the W, and I understand the nuances, and the reporting's really great out there, and I think like an athlete when I handicap their games, and I watch basketball. I've played it my whole life, played in high school and stuff, and so I just watch it, and I see things and that I think are bettable, and they turn out to be pretty good angles.
And even if you're not the biggest WNBA fan, and you should be because the sport's getting better and better, but even if you're not the biggest fan, it doesn't matter with the streak and as how hot Doug is on this. I would be taking his advice, whether you love the sport or not, and take his advice and then go watch the games and have some fun and win some
Yeah,
cash.
you got to catch a break too. I had an
That's right.
over and a prop, over rebounds prop. I got the winning rebound with a buck 40 left in the game. So sometimes
Ooh,
it goes.
yeah,
You have to catch a few breaks, right?
that's right. All right, and we'll be back with Betting Weekly Hardball tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Let me just say, I was going to say I was just going to assume that there'll be day games tomorrow. You never know for sure on a Wednesday, but
Yeah, we have a
often you
few.
do. And there
We have
are,
a
yeah,
few.
we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 games will be in progress when we start, and then a 7th game will start while we're on the air. So there'll be a lot of fun things to talk about in the middle of the show tomorrow. So we'll talk to you then. Thanks to Max and Z for producing today. We'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here on Betting Weekly Hardball.